Welcome in, 2-for-1 Drafts. Austin Gayle here with my guy, Mike Renner, ready to freaking rip it up, dude. It's like the first legit podcast we're able to do. We're reacting to actual NFL and college football. Have a loaded podcast here today. We're going to cover the NFL Week 1 storylines, little Joey Burrow, young cornerbacks. There was a ton of rookies that played in Week 1, but also a ton of young corners that none of them looked all that great. Some had better games than others, but we're going to talk to the young cornerbacks that played in NFL Week 1. Also going to look at college football storylines. Is Brock Purdy actually Brock Turdy? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people want to say it right now. We'll see.
I don't want to say that.
You don't want to say that?
I don't want to say Turdy ever in my life, but I just did.
Is Texas back? We're going to talk some other things there. We got Shots, new segment on the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast where we just do quick hitters from around college football, talk on some more highlights there.
I thought we were actually going to do Shots.
No, we're not going to
more excited about that, but okay, we can do Shots, I guess, whatever.
Not going to actually do Shots. Then we're going to raise the glass to one of the better college football players' performances from the past weekend. Going to talk Trevor Lawrence for that one. Pour one out.
How are you just going to give it away?
You have to give it away.
You always give all the stuff away.
Who doesn't want to give it away?
Like when you have an interview, you just tell them everything that got said in the interview. That's kind of true.
I do feel like I over-tease the interviews. Okay, well, we got Pour One Out segment highlighting a bad performance in college football.
Are you gonna tell them
Fake ID. Shut up. Fake ID highlighting an underclassman that balled out in college football. Rolling Rooks, top 5.
Guess that one.
Yeah, you can easily guess that one. Rolling Rooks, top 5 rookies from this past week, and then a blackout segment, an NFL rookie that will not ever want to see the game tape again. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, a bar fight where we fight over a prospect performance from the past week. All right, before we get into that, Mike, how was your weekend?
I ended up on Old Takes Exposed. It was a good weekend outside of that. And in my defense, I'm going to try to justify it. I mean, I said that Florida State, I think they have the best defensive line in the nation, their starting defensive line. Now, Alabama goes deeper in terms of talent, but I think their starters are the best. The thing, and so I said they're going up against Georgia Tech, and I even said this on the preview, or I said this actually, what was it, in my mailbag for the past week. I think there's something. It was something. It was an AMA on the Discord, which you hadn't checked out our Discord. Go check out our Discord. Someone asked me about Kendo against Georgia Tech, and I'm like, it's not a great matchup to watch them for. They don't have a great offensive line. You'd rather see them against a better offensive line. They didn't play. Those guys didn't play much. Like the three guys that I love along that offensive line: Corey Durden, Joshua Kendo, Marvin Wilson. Obviously, Wilson played 45 snaps, but Durden only plays 26, and then Kendo only 18. Like, that's why they didn't dominate in that game. And then, that's why they also lost in that game against
It was also
Tech,
a really weird game, though. Like, lightning delay, heavy rain, ton of wind. I feel like you weren't prepared for that. You weren't looking at weather on Saturday. I'll tell you that
I was
right
not
now.
Looking at
Talking about my weekend, showed up at Saturday's place. Renner is lining up 18 Miller Lights as a scoreboard. He says, I'm going for 30. Already glazed. There's not a shot in hell.
I didn't make it to 30.
I didn't drink as much as you did and ended up having dinner with George Chahuri. And a little story from that one. Brought Ben Lindsay with me, another analyst here at PFF. And George, there's two things about George. For those who don't know, George Chahuri is our CRO here, also the director of content. He likes to eat out at nice dinners. He asked me to go to dinner. I tell him very last minute I'm bringing Ben Lindsay.
You're not going to Skyline.
Yeah, you're not going to Skyline with George Chahuri. That's for damn sure. But asked me to go to dinner. We're going to Jeff Ruby's. Ben Lindsay's with me. We're locked in on that. And Ben Lindsay's wearing like a battered up long sleeve tee and swim trunks because he was at your pool. And George gets hot pretty quick. That guy can get a temper pretty quickly. He was fucking livid that Ben Lindsay came with us to Ruby's. And so he comes with us. We try and get a table for 3 on a Friday, or it was a Saturday. And when they go to walk us to our table, Ben Lindsay takes the lead. And like everyone in the restaurant's like, who is this fucking guy?
I can't believe Ben even wanted to go at that point. Like I wouldn't, when the last thing I want to do when
then he couldn't find his keys for a little bit.
Spend money on nice
so
food. Bad. Like that's like, I know I'm not going to appreciate it. I'd rather appreciate like Taco Bell at that point. Tastes as good as
it was honestly incredible that, George kept his lid on for sure, but it was a good weekend overall. Didn't drink as much as you did, but I don't envy that necessarily. Let's get into these NFL Week 1 storylines, Mike, starting with our guy, Joe Burrow. First time we've seen him take an NFL snap, and I think it looked a lot like the first time Joe Burrow's ever seen an NFL snap. I don't necessarily think that he was put in a position to succeed, both behind that offensive line and with, you talked about before the podcast, the 5-man protections. What were your thoughts? Let's first break it down like the first 3 quarters. The first 3 quarters of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, what were your opinions?
See, I feel like they put training wheels on him. It was like a classic game plan of don't let Joe Burrow lose us the game. Don't put him in any situations where he's going to have to, make it make a downfield read and put one over a linebacker or whatever. That just wasn't in the game plan. It was a lot of underneath stuff, RPOs, screens, quick game to start off, trying to protect him, trying not to get him killed behind that offensive line, just easing him into the game, which I get that. Like you have a bad offensive line against a very good edge rushing duo for the Chargers, and you have your rookie quarterback making his first start with no preseason. Like you don't want to shoot his confidence down the drain right out the gate. So I can understand that, but I just feel like with the personnel that they have, like they kept putting 5 out in a route with tight ends that aren't going to be winning one-on-ones. Like they don't have a good tight end.
Not a big CJ Uzomah fan.
And you have AJ Green, John Ross. Like say what you want about John Ross, but the dude can separate. I just would have liked to see more play action shots, a little more. Let him max protect and let him work a 2-man concept, something like that, to try to get a guy open down the field, because only 7 play action on 44 dropbacks. They ran all day. Now, some of that was that he took about a dozen dropbacks at the end of the game where you knew they weren't going to do play action in like the 2-minute drill. So some of that's that, but I still would have liked to have seen more as the game went on. Hopefully we see more this Thursday against the Browns. But the 2-minute drill is what gets all the attention, and it's what I think Burrow is. That's who he's going to be at the NFL level, is a guy who is just very calm and collected. And it was a very Breeze, Brady-esque 2-minute drill in that he just took what's there and got him to the line, got everyone where they were supposed to be, and then took what's there again, and then just kept going, knowing that you have time. You don't need to get all that yardage on one play to run it when you have that amount of time. So I do think that him being able to do that when it was all on him, I'd like to see them put more on him next week, like offensively. He showed that he can do it. So I think you need to open up that offense just a little bit as we go here.
I mean, put more on him, run more play action, keep more guys in to protect. I think those are all areas that they can improve. In my notes here, missed a couple open passes. The AJ Green bomb. The AJ Green one was brutal. A couple early out routes too is what I saw. The 2 flips were bad. No, the 3 flips. He had the 2 forward passes that were like sidearm flips, that one getting picked, and then the one back to Mixon that almost got he got a little too creative in some of this.
The more flips. Overhand only. No, from now on.
No more flips from him. And then I put in my notes here too that I thought he started to get more comfortable about 40, 45 offensive plays in. They started to run more play action. The game was on him, and I thought his pocket presence was good. I thought he stepped up really well, sometimes a little early, but still, like, he knew that like he was a bit in control. And you don't see that with rookie quarterbacks all the time. You compare him to a guy like Baker Mayfield, who seeing ghosts of late. Burrow's not seeing ghosts. I think he was really confident. That last drive, man, I thought the OPI was soft, so soft on AJ Green.
So, okay, I got a different take on OPIs because DPI, at any point in time, if a defender reached out and pushed an offensive guy like that, that's called every time.
100%.
If a defender does what Michael Gallup did to Jalen Ramsey that everyone was complaining about, it's a pass interference every single time. So I'm almost never of the opinion that OPIs are bad calls. It's only when it's like a pick play or like a perceived pick play that I get upset a lot of OPIs. But if it's like a one-on-one and you get a guy creating separation like that, it's almost always, in my opinion, a OPI, because if the defender were to do it, it would be the same thing. So that's just my take on that.
Anyway, I thought that pass was great. I thought when he scrambled out right and hit AJ Green, he couldn't keep his feet in bounds, was also good. Same with the John Ross bobble on the out. I thought like there were a lot of good, accurate passes late in the game. Like I said, about 40 plays in. He earned a 61.6 PFF grade in this one. Moving forward, more storylines here. Young corners, Mike. Yeah. So let's talk about the guys that did well first, or at least above expectation, considering none of them had played an NFL snap before this. Who are some names in the secondary, those rookies that looked good for you?
CJ Henderson for the Jags, and they played They played a good deal of man coverage, and he would be on Ty or Paris Campbell when they did go to that, and the speed aspect you could just tell. And he had obviously the game-winning pass breakup, and had a pass breakup earlier in the game on pretty much the exact same thing, just a hitch from T.Y. Hilton. But he can break on those balls because he knows he's fast enough that like T.Y. Hilton's not going to get behind him. He's going to make that ground up. So I thought that was a very encouraging first start from him. About as encouraging a first start from a corner we've seen since maybe like Marshawn Lattimore, like back.
I think he finished the week as the highest graded corner, not regardless of veterans versus rookies. I thought that the interception was schemed, but I still think you have to give credit for the execution on what he did on the out route there, and also came up and tackled that one big defensive stop on third down. Everyone hated on him for not tackling. He came up and made a big play on third down there as well. Also, other note I had in here, dude was talking a little shit, and he did not do that at Florida. We've interviewed him on the podcast before, talked to him at least. He's very soft-spoken, doesn't get in people's heads, but he was feeling it against T.Y., getting into his head a little bit. I thought that overall, that performance from CJ Henderson was great. Let's jump a little bit. Is there another corner you liked?
Jalen Johnson also, I'll say. Another guy, two rookies had game-winning pass breakups. He had against the Lions. Pretty wild.
The game was on Jalen Johnson, too. It was easy to get out of position there. Yeah. It was a deeper pass. Like, it was kind of on him to make that play.
And honestly, the 2 catches he did give up, one, he's right at the catch point. Another one was just like a cover 4 beater that I'm not sure any corners are breaking.
He did a speed turn, and I thought he was going to get there. Nice hit on TJ Hawkinson on that play.
Yeah, so like there was not a lot he could have done better in this game, to be honest. I thought he was very solid top to bottom outside of just getting annihilated by Marvin
the
Jones.
truck stick was unfortunate. That was very unfortunate. We put that on the main account. It was just not great.
People are going to see that and be like, oh, Jalen Johnson fucking bust. I thought
his size was good, though. Like we brought this up before the podcast. There are some rookies who look small in the NFL. I thought Clyde Hilaire on Thursday looked very small on that football field.
Dude, that is so weird. Okay, yeah, I was saying this before. Like a guy, you see him at the college level, and then immediately once they get on the NFL field, you're just like, wow, they look completely different. To me, Clyde Hilaire looked small, Patrick Queen looked tiny to me, and Joe Burrow's arm looked like weak. And I was like, shit, like I don't remember any of these things being quite like that. But it is just funny how that kind of works throughout the game.
All right, some other corners to
And I actually thought Derek Brown looked skinnier.
Really?
Maybe he actually is skinnier because he was like 330 last year.
He also got absolutely destroyed against Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson, and Gabe Jackson.
I'll give him a pass on that one. That's a double team. That's probably the best double team duo he's going to face.
Outside of the double team, he was still getting worked one-on-one against Incognito. Gabe Jackson was giving him the business. And when he started playing nose late in that game, he had no pass rush. Like his pass rush was just to hope a bad pass. I was not impressed.
We'll talk about Kinlaw later in the game, but Kinlaw had an easier draw than going against the Cardinals interior line. That's a much easier one. Talking about other corners that maybe didn't play as well, I have 4 names on my list here: Troy Pride Jr., Cameron Dantzler, Trayvon Diggs, and AJ Terrell. We could also bring up Damon Arnett. His game wasn't as bad. He obviously got toasted on the Robbie Anderson double moon. With I was gonna say I would put Damon Arnett in that category.
Let's put him in there.
Before I put Trayvon Diggs. I thought Trayvon Diggs is a little better than Arnett. Arnett, I mean, getting smoked that badly on a double move is rough. And then the Raiders' insistence on playing LaMarcus Joyner at slot corner, and Eric Harris blows that tackle, which.
That was a bad play by Eric Harris. Very bad play.
That made that play look a lot worse because that's why you have a middle of the field safety, so that doesn't turn into a touchdown. But yeah.
All right, we'll start with Troy Pride Jr. I had notes here. I thought he was picked on in the run game. Like they were trying to get after him, get outside, and put some blocks on him. And then also we got toasted by Aguilar on the inside move. He just didn't look as fast. Like Aguilar beat him there, beat him to the punch the whole way through. I think he was late on the snap, but two bad plays there.
Troy Pride was not a guy I foresaw starting week 1. Coming out. Like I thought he was a nice ancillary piece who could develop. So him starting week 1 is out of necessity, the fact that they're just all they're so young defensively there in Carolina. So,
how about Cameron Dantzler?
So Dantzler got torched by Marcos Valles-Scantling, but honestly, the fact that
it was a soft burn, Mike. It was not torched. He did not get torched like Damon Arnett got torched.
I mean, it was a straight go route, and he wasn't.
I would say Troy Pride Jr. on the Nelson Aguilar touchdown got more torched. His hands were nowhere near that ball. But Cameron Dantzler was at least close in phase, maybe by a half step back.
Okay. I can revoke my torch.
Thank you, Jesus.
He got
throwing it around like candy.
Burn. He got seared, seared,
pan fried.
So I think the fact though that he is seeing snaps over Jeff Gladney, like he is starting, not Jeff Gladney. Jeff Gladney's first rounder. He was a third rounder. It's wild to me. You don't see that really right out the gate very often.
How much is that his size, do you think? I mean, just wanting to play a bigger corner outside. I saw that Jeff Gladney in camp was taking more slot snaps than he was taking outside snaps.
Yeah, I mean, that's still worrisome.
That is very worrisome. Yeah, I mean, but if you never planned on playing Gladney outside, I don't know. Like, then what's your plan there, I guess? Yeah. I'm not sure. I put in here, he had 2 bad missed tackles against Aaron Jones. That's going to bring down his grade. Lost to the catch points against MVS. And then it's off, just getting beat against Tay Adams a couple times. But Trayvon Diggs, another guy that we have here, 2 just bad beats, dude. Bad beats at the catch point.
Right
that
there.
Dime from Jared Goff was one of the better throws of the weekend to Van Jefferson over the top. People are like, all caps Van Jefferson on the timeline. I was like, dude, he didn't create an inch of separation on that play. Just a really, really good throw from Goff. And the other one to number 11, I don't even know who that Rams receiver was, but it was a really good play by Diggs. He was sitting there on the hitch, and he just had stronger hands and brought that one in and almost scored on that play. But outside of that, he had that big stop on 3rd or 4th down. I don't remember what it was, coming over the top in the run game. I thought Diggs played well overall. His worst play was playing Cooper Kupp in the slot in press and got absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, that one was
just torched on that play.
That one was never.
That was a
well
torching.
Like he's a guy. He's like of the Richard Sherman camp where it's like you don't have him follow guys because his game doesn't translate to the slot.
He came to a stop like a freaking bus without brakes on that one. That was ugly.
Yeah.
AJ Terrell, I think he was late on everything. Just very late. The game was slow for the guy. Lost in the sauce was a note I added in there. Beat on the DK Metcalf double move. And then other things were just like, I think plays were developing faster than he could recognize. He wasn't playing like a ton of man coverage, like forced to reading some zone concepts. And I just don't think he was ready to play that day. Like, he just needs time.
Looked like a pretty quintessential like a first preseason outing for the guy.
Really did.
Where there's gonna be a good deal of those. That's kind of how like Derek Brown's looked too. Mm-hmm. It's just like that guy was not quite ready for the speed of what the NFL is about to look like. Like, and those are tough at this point. Like, I'm not going to read too much into that when a guy just doesn't look like.
Oh no, you can't overreact to that. Yeah. You can't overreact to that. All right. Well, before we jump to college here, because we're talking about late and just games too fast, I wanted to touch on.
I actually know who we didn't even touch on in the cornerbacks because it was Thursday. But L'Jarius Sneed was impressive.
Yes.
The fact that he comes in after playing safety last year at LA Tech, 4th rounder. Again, like Troy Pride's 4th round. You're not expecting much, but I thought L'Jarius Sneed looked like he belonged on a football field playing cornerback in the NFL right now. It was a good matchup for him because he's a fast guy who also is long, and he's going up against a bunch of fast wide receivers. So who aren't particularly like agile wide receivers. I think that's the guys who are going to give him fits. But he can go stride for stride with Will Fuller, with Brandon Cooks, and he did. And he had a pass breakup and a pick. It was a gimme pick, but the pass breakup was pretty nice.
Yep. Jalen Johnson had that nice pass breakup that led to an interception. I thought that was one of his better plays of the day. Before we jump to college football and look at our college football week 2 storylines, I wanted to touch on the linebackers just real quick. Kenneth Murray, Patrick Queen, Isaiah Simmons, all those guys looked like a week 1 preseason game, in my opinion. Isaiah Simmons, probably the worst of them all, got beat on the Mostert touchdown run in the Texas route. I thought Patrick Queen couldn't get off blocks, was late to fly to the ball. Same with Kenneth Murray. And Patrick Queen's box score didn't look bad. A couple defensive stops, forced fumble, and a sack, but like a bulk majority of the plays, I think he had like 10 negatively graded plays somewhere in that range, were just like not getting off the ball. Like he was just not firing forward like we saw at LSU.
And this is an interesting conversation about which position would you say is most behind the 8 ball coming in the NFL with no preseason. Mm-hmm. Like, and I would say it's linebacker. Like the reason all these guys look bad is because one, you're going up against your own offense all preseason. You don't get to see anyone else's concepts. Like you're seeing things that you haven't seen at any level of football once you get to the NFL with just the way the speed of the game and what they run at that level. So I think just the amount you have to process in any given play, the speed of the game is not gonna be there. And we saw it for Devin White last year. He had that and for about half the season last year. He just wasn't playing near the speed we saw at LSU. And I just think that is something that comes in time. And they were never going to look great right out the gate. Isaiah Simmons, though, was the more worrisome one because those were just like coverage plays. Those were not necessarily like, that's not him having to read run.
They were very single responsibility.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
He was in man coverage against the running back and gave up a 60
I have here absolutely manhandled against George Kittle and then just fooled by Raheem Mostert. And then after that, I got tricked on the Jerick McKinnon touchdown. Like, I mean, those were the McKinnon one was the one where the game looked too fast. The other one's like, dude, those guys just beat you, dude. Yeah. Like they beat you in one-on-one situations and you lost.
And he's also, we said it coming out, he did not play linebacker at Clemson. So
yeah, and the 49ers were doing a lot of pre-snap motions to put him as the over center middle linebacker. And when he was in those situations, the dude was a fish out of water. Like very much struggled in those situations. All right, let's jump to the college football storylines. Only a couple here. We already mentioned you ended up on Old Takes Exposed. Can we touch on that a little bit?
No,
we already touched on it. Okay, fine. I will say, though, when your Old Takes Exposed was Florida State's going to blow out Georgia Tech, and when I get to your pool, you're like, it's going to be a bloodbath. You're just telling everybody to bet -13.5 Florida State.
Well, I also said to bet Louisiana against Iowa State and Duke against Notre Dame. And
You're sharp.
Covered.
You're freaking sharp. All right, let's talk Brock Purdy then. You want to talk about Louisiana? You want to talk about Iowa State?
I would love to talk about Brock Purdy.
What the hell happened?
That was bad. I think he's solidified. He's not going to be in this quarterback class with a performance like that. You just can't have that on tape the year before you're trying to get drafted, trying to be a first-round pick. And it's going to be a pretty loaded quarterback class. Maybe sitting out, or not sitting out, but coming back for 2022 is the right decision in the first place in terms of making himself more money. But it just like nothing was clicking. It was just a very all-around poor performance. But I also, one of the biggest takeaways from watching that All-22 the next day was that he's not going to put up good stats this year. His talent around him.
And Charlie Kolar missed that game. Yeah. I think he was a late out on that
Charlie
game.
Kolar, it's bad. Like, it's
his receivers were not creating separation. A ton of drops. Or I don't think it was a ton, but it was at least a handful of drops. But even then, though, he still didn't look good in other areas either.
Yeah, the accuracy was the part that I was a little sad about. Like, he missed probably like 3, not necessarily open guys, but just like 3 like makeable throws down the football field, and one like he missed so badly it should have been picked off. He just had some rough reads there.
My favorite question of the podcast, and I hope I get to ask it every single one, is Texas back?
I picked them to make the playoffs, so of course I think they're back. I do think, though, Ehlinger, yes, it was against what, UTSA, or was it UTEP?
One of those two.
They're the same school to me.
They were plus 43-point favorites. It was minus 43.
It was whatever, like terrible school. What was encouraging to me, and I said this before, what he needed to do differently this year was he was quick to break out of clean pockets and quick to scramble when he felt pressure and like run. Only 2 scrambles on the day, didn't take a sack, and went 7 of 11 under pressure for something like 108 yards. Like, he looked good, made some throws down the field when he was faced with pressure. And it's not like a guy in your face, if he plays for UTSA, is not too much different than a guy in your face who plays for Alabama. Like, a guy in your face is a guy in your face. You still got to step in and make a throw.
A guy in your face is a guy in your face, dude.
That sounds like how Saturday ended up. But
dude, you had beers in your face is what you had, dude. I cannot believe how early you turned down that night.
I was actually pretty glad. I woke up at like 5:30 a.m. on Sunday, ready to go.
Playing the Notre Dame "We Are the Irish" fight song.
That was Saturday.
Brock Purdy earned a 56.3 overall grade in this one. Not a good look for Purdy. You're going to jump now to AG's shots
just jump
here.
backwards from Ehlinger, we were talking
about.
Wait,
I did just jump backwards from Ehlinger. I don't know why.
Ehlinger earned like an 82.6 and was pretty, it was just an all-around solid performance from Ehlinger. Just like he has to be, though, to get into the first-round conversation, clean slate. Like, he has to not, like, every game that he should dominate, he has to dominate.
Like Burrow last year.
Exactly. That's like that's the kind of tools that he has. He doesn't have above average physical or arm tools. So,
all right, you ready for AG shots?
Well, let's do some
quick
shots.
Hits here for college football. I'm going to start with this one. Jackson Carman, Liam Eichenberg, and Sam Cosmi all finished the week with 0 pressures allowed. Thoughts on those performances?
Necessary. That's the box you need to check if you're those guys. I would have been a little. The Carman one's interesting because he was actually going up against a real deal. Yeah, Boogie Basham, a real edge rusher there. But we'll touch on that a little later about why I'm not going to read too much into what he did against Boogie Basham, considering
how quick they got the ball on there.
Trevor Lawrence just nullifies your pass rush. It was like 2.2 seconds was his average.
Andre Cisco, I didn't think he had a great game. I think there was a play where he was working from the slot that he kind of got beat on a move there. But outside of that, he showed off really nice range on the INT. Yeah. I thought that looked really nice. You tweeted something out of that. He either knows the play or something like that, but it's the instincts that really get him the ball production, passes defense, and interceptions. And I think he obviously has the speed. And then you combine that with instincts. What is that? The vision head start that fucking Sam coined VHS, the vision head start for Andre Cisco. But that Syracuse defense though was absolutely atrocious. It was so hard to watch that game. Andre Cisco is one of the few good players on that team. I thought Troy Williams was going to make some plays, but I liked. I was a fan of Troy Williams, but I liked. But there's another guy. I say it's atrocious, but I thought Ifitu Melifonwu made some good moves in that one as well.
Is that Obi's brother?
It is Obi's brother, or he could be a cousin. I'm actually not sure. So my notes for Melifonwu were couple good reps in press, played the slant pretty nicely, 2 PBUs, I believe. But then when they played him in off, like just wasn't closing on the ball a ton. And then there was one play on a screen or like a flare out that he like throws a receiver to the ground and makes a play on the ball, which I thought was great. So I'm ready to fall in love with the Melifonwu again because I thought Obi Melifonwu was going to be sick.
Fool me once. Shame on you.
I thought Obi Melifonwu was going to be sick. What was your opinion of him coming out of UConn?
I was a fan. I thought there was just no killer instinct though, apparently.
I mean, not at all. Yeah. I mean, the off-field about him was that he just didn't like the game and couldn't play through injuries.
That's what every evaluator points to when they're like a guy. He has other hobbies. That's Obi had other hobbies.
Jerry Tillery likes tennis. Like Jesus, calm the hell down. The other thing I want to mention here, and then there was 2 underclassmen I wanted to touch on. They're not fake IDs, but can I just get a little words in? First one though, before we get to those guys, is Tutu Atwell. Yeah. His usage is still so gadgety, and even the 2 receptions he did have that weren't like near or behind the line of scrimmage, off coverage against the slot, not a big catch radius. I know he's got speed. I know he can do damage after the catch, but he's one of those guys that I think when he does get to the NFL, he's going to look smaller, Mike. And I don't necessarily think he's going to look as fast either. Like I thought he looked good in this game when he had the ball in his hands, but like I'm starting to think more and more that like how valuable is a gadget player like Tutu Atwell?
Yeah. I mean, and if I was an offensive coordinator in college, I would use him as a gadget player too. Like I would get the ball in his hands.
You're an offensive coordinator in the NFL. You're going to use him as a gadget player.
Yeah, but I will agree that we need to see more from him in terms of like real routes.
I don't think he sees 100 press snaps this year. They're just not going to let him have it. Yeah. Like they're going to move him around the line.
No, I mean, he's never going to be that.
You're just not going to see him win a ton of single coverage matchups because he's just not going to have any. 2 underclassmen. I thought Storm Duck played well. The UNC corner, I thought he was in phase a ton. I think he got tested deep in single coverage, played press a ton in that game. And I feel like time and time again, I saw him making good plays on the football down the field, which is something I always root for. And then Kyle Hamilton had 2 pass breakups where click and close, playing it in front of him.
The Notre Dame safety.
You barely remember it, dude. Shut the fuck up. But I thought he looked really good as well. I mean, Kyle Hamilton's one of the better players on that team.
He's the best player on that team. In fact, that guy's, I mean, he's just very good. I haven't seen a Notre Dame player that good since
Jalen Smith?
No, he's the best Notre Dame player I've seen in mine.
Oh, my goodness.
He's very good.
Say that take proudly, Mike. That's heavy.
That guy, he can do a lot of things that you'd like to see a safety do in the NFL. I'm a big fan of his game.
All right, before we jump to our raise the glass, pour one out, and fake ID segment.
I enjoy those shots, though.
Yeah, enjoy those shots.
I feel
those
drunk.
Shots are good.
Not as drunk as Saturday.
Before we jump to the next segments here, raise the glass, pour one out, fake ID. We're going to take a quick break here from these sponsors. Who better to raise a glass to than Clemson's Trevor Lawrence? You texted me this morning saying Trevor Lawrence's all-22 is not safe for work, and I would agree. Yeah. I mean, this guy was a machine. Seth Galina in an article in the offseason said he looks like a 7th grade flag football player. I did not see that quarterback on the foot. Did you not remember that tweet? Seth Galina, man. He said in the early parts of the 2019
Someone's
season,
going to have to explain that.
Trevor Lawrence was not looking up to snuff, but I thought he looked pretty good in this game.
Dude, it was... I mean, the amount of NFL throws that he makes out of this world. Like he fit like he had back-to-back far hash outs. He threw back-to-back 15-yard far hash outs. That doesn't like people.
Dude, no one gets anyone more, far hash out gets like the legit NFL draft Twitter community just feeling some type of way.
Yeah, like Gettleman. Seeing that Gettleman probably flips on the Trevor Lawrence tape like when he feels
dude earned a 94.0
like cheating on Daniel Jones
grade in this game.
Yeah, it was legitimately I mean just about as good a quarterback tape as I've seen at the college level. And now you're playing a shit defense, whatever. It's nothing to do with that, but just in terms of arm talent, throwing the ball where it needs to go with velocity and timing was ridiculous. Like he was getting to his 3rd read and hitting it on time. The quickness with which 2.2 second time to throw average on the game, the quickness with which he just gets to the ball to where it needs to go is just, it's out of this world. He really is. And the scary thing is, like, we usually assume college quarterbacks develop. Like we assume that they get better throughout their college careers, but with him we're kind of just like, oh, he's so good as a freshman. Like that's just who he is. But he might be getting better. Like he probably is getting better. This is his 3rd year of playing college football. He probably got better, which is scary to think about where he can take his game to in the future.
To finish the Raise the Glass segment, where does Trevor Lawrence suit up next year? And why is it in a New York Jets uniform?
Man, I don't want to overreact to week 1, but the Jets look like asshole. Holy shit. Like I had to write up the refocus for that game. And so I'm watching on my computer while I'm at Holy Grail here in Cincinnati, watching all the other games. And I'm just like, what was it, like 17-0 in the second quarter? And I'm just like, the Jets offense, they had 33 yards in the second quarter. I'm just like,
people had the audacity in the offseason to jersey swap Trevor Lawrence in a Jags jersey. You think Gardner Minshew's Jags are going to be picking?
That's what I was going to say. I still think the Jags are probably.
No. You're crazy. Gardner Minshew's Jags are not going to pick first overall. I'll bet any amount on that. They're not picking first overall. There are way worse teams in the NFL. Way worse teams. Anyway.
Who? I mean, the Jets is the only. But Darnold, I still believe in Darnold.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I believe in Minch. I believe in the Minch. All right, let's pour one out for your guy, Chris Rumph.
Yeah.
The Notre Dame, Duke edge defender went up against Notre Dame, played Liam Eichenberg and company. We said it as soon as the broadcast turned on. Holy shit, this guy is small. Still looks very small. That obviously a huge concern.
Listed at 235, was 225 last year. So he's going up, going in the right direction, but that's still not enough. 235 still not enough. He needs to get into the 240. So honestly, the more I think about it, maybe it's just isn't his year. He's a redshirt junior. He has another year of eligibility. And maybe he has 2 now. I don't know how that shit's working with eligibility, but he might have 2 more years of eligibility. I would just try to keep getting bigger, because the thing was, this was a huge game for him, because everyone he was going up, like this, Notre Dame's probably a top 5 pass protecting line in the country. Like they are just solid across the board. And so he was going to get tested every single guy he went up against. And he really only had two nice wins on 27 pass rushes. One was a nice outside move. One was like a spin to the inside. Both were against Hainsey, though, the right tackle, and not against Eichenberg, the left tackle. So, and then when he did rush from the inside, didn't do much of anything. And the problem is he's so slight at 235. Just if a guy gets his hand on him and grabs him, he just struggles so much. He has to win on contact immediately, or else he doesn't win.
As you'd expect, though. He's 235. And yeah, I mean, how else is he going to win?
He just has no power to his game, and on stunts, he's just a non-issue if you get a hand on him. So I just don't think he's going to come out this year after seeing this. I would recommend he goes back to school if he's still only going to be 235.
Fake ID segment. This is the guy we'd let in the bar. We'd let in the draft if we could. And it's Spencer Rattler on pay-per-view. Did you pay the $55 to watch Oklahoma take on Missouri State? Probably not. We got the All-22 sent to us that night, I believe, and turned it on. And this guy can rip it. Absolutely rip it. He's got feet.
It was worth the price of admission.
Yeah, it was. It really was. If I paid it, I think it would have been worth it. He's got feet and he's got some sexy arm talent. I'm excited about this kid.
That sounds like Rex Ryan's combo. But yeah, Spencer Rattler looks like Kyler Murray to me, just like the way he throws the ball. Like he has the same release, like the snappy, he kind of like brings it back. I don't know how to describe it. Brings it kind of back laterally and just snaps his hips. But dude has a cannon. He threw like a 40-yard corner route that was on a line, or 40 yards from throw to catch, and it was on the line. 93.5 passing grade in this game, 17.1 yards per attempt. The way he ran, just when he threw the ball down the football field compared to when Jalen Hurts threw the ball down the football field, looked very different in terms of just accuracy and speed that he was letting it rip with. So this guy, it's the most impressive quarterback in the possible 2022 class that I've seen, just in terms of
as advertised, though.
Ability.
Like everyone's been hyping up this kid for so long.
Yeah.
There's reason people are putting a ton of money on him to win the Heisman, in addition to the fact that Oklahoma's won a ton of Heisman.
I'd probably put money on him to win the Heisman. He's going to put up some fucking numbers in that offense.
All right, let's get to the Rolling Rooks segment. Top 5 rookies from week 1. You go ahead and kick it off. Number 1.
Yeah, number 1 we hit on, right? CJ Henderson was fucking good. 5 of 10 targets, 58 yards, pick, 4 forced incompletions, the game-winning pass breakup. I think when he was in man coverage, we said that before, that was what he could do, but he also made a play in zone. He had a pick in zone coverage coming off a nice little special call there. Him, coming off his guy and getting right under the out route. Not a ridiculously tough test, I'll say. Like T.Y. Hilton going up against him, that's who he should be good at against. The guys, like he should own the speed receivers.
Philip did not look good yesterday.
Yeah, and so he was number 1 on the list. Number 2, Chase Young. He's going to probably be on this list every single week. Like that guy.
I mean, what he did against Jason Peters, I thought was sweet. Legit bullied him on a couple plays. I thought the run stop he had against Dallas Goedert, where he swallowed both him and Boston Scott up, was sweet. He beat Jason Peters inside for a run stop. There was a weird offsides thing, but he showed off some juice against Peters as well. I thought the getting chipped and then spun into the sack was nice. It was pretty sweet. I'd like to see some more pure wins on the edge, but Peters wasn't giving him up. But still, I feel like he took what Peters gave him and still put together a really good game.
Yeah, and he also had the forced fumble, game-changing type play at the end of the game. Really, just like I said, another guy as advertised. That was what you expect from Chase Young, and that's what he delivered.
I'm excited for this next guy, Mike.
Next guy on the list, Javon Kinlaw.
This was fun tape, dude. It was really fun to watch this guy.
Did not expect, of talking about guys who look small, he did not look small. He still looked Javon Kinlaw-esque. And he didn't, and his strength, his ability to throw grown men around, translated right out the gate. He was tossing, was it Mason Cole and J.R. Sweezy there? Took J.R. Sweezy
Dude, he
to
did that
town
double
one
team.
time.
One of the double team he had on near the Cardinals goal line, where he didn't get completely pushed off the line, I thought was sweet for him. I mean, that's you're looking the part, you're feeling you're NFL ready at that point to play as well as he did against the run that early. And I know we harp on run defense and the run game, but I thought looked the part very early for Javon Kinlaw.
Yes, so still no real didn't throw any nice moves at him or anything, but to still be able to still look that physically dominant on an NFL football field, that's very encouraging right out the gate. So him being
the Sweezy pass block or pass rush win was tough to watch for Sweezy.
I mean, he just took his shoulder pads and just threw them to the side. That was something that other DTs can't do. Even Derrick Brown probably can't do what Javon Kinlaw does because he's not that explosive. So Javon Kinlaw, number 3 on this list. Number 4, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. Everyone watched him on Thursday night. His vision to get in and out of cuts and fit in between small holes along the offensive line, just kind of knifing. And then obviously the cut against Justin Reed in the open field. Everyone said it was a perfect fit in that Chiefs offense, and it looks like a perfect fit in that
He also got
offense. 6
goal line carries from inside the 5 and didn't get it in, which was kind of hard to watch. But 7 broken missed tackles.
That was a lot of that was they just don't have a great interior line.
No. I don't think it was his fault necessarily. I think he was getting.
They're not built for power run game.
Yeah. But 7 forced missed tackles by a rookie in week 1 is the most we've ever seen. Yeah. So that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire lining it up in that regard. Number 5.
Mekhi Becton for the Jets. I said I was a little worried about him out the gate just in terms of pass pro. Thought he held up real well. Not a huge test. I said he was going to go up against Hughes. I was dead wrong. He went up against Mario Addison 95% of his pass rushing snaps, but gave up a sack to Addison, but that was really the only ugly rep. He did go up against Hughes once and tackled him, which I'm not sure if he got called for a hold, but one was ugly. But I thought he held up against Addison really well. Addison's a guy who wants to play win with quicks, not with power, and that's something that you don't see as much of at the college. You didn't see a guy that quick and that skilled at the college level, and for him to only really give up one pressure, and he handled all the stunts he was tasked with really well. So Mekhi Becton, that's a very good start for an offensive tackle rookie week 1.
Yeah, my notes on Becton, though it was a very early play in the game, was play action. He sent Jerry Hughes into the underworld on a toss, just threw him to the ground and pass pro.
I watched the run game, and that he was impressive in that too. He had some big ass blocks, but the pass pro was what really to me the run game I wasn't too worried about. Pass pro I was, and he was good in that.
He did get beat twice in the run game from Addison on some just getting beat kind of quickly off the snap on some slants. But I think I agree. He was the highest graded rookie this past year on the offensive side of the ball. Not this past year. In week 1, I believe he finished with the highest overall grade of any rookie.
Anyway.
Offensive player. Yeah,
oh, really?
That's where he finished. All right, last 2 segments here. The blackout segment. We don't have to bury this guy. We already talked about it a little bit, but Isaiah Simmons didn't look good. I mean, he got manhandled by George Kittle. Raheem Mostert ran the Texas route and took it to the crib. And then Jerick McKinnon got lost in the sauce because Isaiah Simmons was too busy, looking at Jimmy Garoppolo's face, which I don't blame him. But at the same time, the game was way too fast for Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, when everyone said, he's not going to be starting. I was like, I would imagine he still plays. He still should be, good in coverage. That he was good in coverage at Clemson. Oh, maybe he's not ready for that either. Shit. So
it was not a good game for him. All right, bar fight.
28.3 coverage rate.
28.3. Yikes. All right, bar fight here. And we talked a little bit before the podcast, and I feel like I'm losing this bar fight. You're going to crack a bottle and slit my throat. But I thought Jared Dagey looked pretty good for West Virginia. I thought so there was a couple plays that I really liked that had me kind of feeling it. two passes that were like 10 to 18 yards down the field into tight windows where I think he made the right decision and put enough on there to get it into the tight window. Those two plays, and we've talked about actually at the intermediate level before. Yeah. Like when you see those on tape, it's rare. Obviously, there's quarterbacks that have really good touch passes deep down the field. Derek Carr is a very good touch passer down the field. His 3 big-time throws that were deep down the field, a little underthrown, and I know that's what you're going to throw back in my face here. Yeah,
to me,
can we talk about...
You had the nice touchdown throw over a linebacker, and you had the nice crosser over a linebacker.
Yes, yeah.
Those were nice. The rest of it was basically just QB playing Eastern Kentucky. Like, you expect everything else was kind of just like, here's a hitch versus off coverage. Here's this wide open crossing route. Here's this post route that they decided not to cover. And I can throw it basically to this 20-yard radius, and my guy's going to come down with it. I didn't see much in the way of arm strength from Doege. Now, again, we've said if you don't have an arm strength, you can still be good at quarterback in the NFL. You just have to have a lot of other things. And so we'll see. That's something I'm not going to decide from one game against Eastern Kentucky. But I'm not nearly as on board as you were hyping it up as if Doege was fucking
the man,
burying, like as if like it was what Spencer Rattler did. Spencer Rattler against Missouri State, yes, shitty competition, but it was fucking impressive in terms of the way it went. Yeah, so I didn't quite see as much from Doege.
Well, either way, I still am going to hold out true for Doege. I want to see some more from the guy. I also want to talk about bar fight here. The fact that it's pronounced Doege. I thought it was Doge for a long time, but then I was listening, so I was doing mostly all 22 where there's no like sound, but then I finally saw a broadcast play and they're like Doege going Doege. I was like, wait, fuck, guy's name's Doege. I'm glad I brought that up.
I'm the king of not giving a shit about how to pronounce names.
It's true.
So
it's true. That's why your credibility is shot. No one likes you. All right, well, that's going to do it for the 2-for-1 drafts episode, the Monday episode. We're going to be doing these at 4 o'clock every Monday. Continue to look at rookies and prospects, doing deep review. If you have suggestions on
so don't bitch us about missing Monday Night Football players.
Exactly. Yeah. No Monday Night Football players, unfortunately. Maybe we do a little bit of a review on the Wednesday pod. But if you have any ideas for segments, guys we need to hit on next, please rate and review the podcast. Leave that suggestion in there. But that's going to do it for the pod, man. Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2-for-1 drafts.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.